Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's very special Best Practices webinar. This is the first one of 2026. I guess we're as late as we can get in the month, but we had a lot going on. And so we are really excited to have this very special webinar because, this idea that you can literally, we know for a fact from talking to, really hundreds and hundreds of our clients that you can pay as you save money using our technology. And in technology in general, we know that technology in general will help you become more efficient, but having the right technology versus the wrong technology or the right vendor or partner, which we are partners, versus a vendor that is not getting back to you or you feel like they're not hearing you. So we're going to get into all of that. But again, the whole focus is on technology really can help you save in terms of every aspect of what you do, and we're doing it here at Transfinder too. Our CEO, Antonio Civitella, we had a big, huge meeting with the entire company, and one of the things we talked about is how can we streamline things? How can we become more efficient so we can really focus on the most important tasks, which is helping our clients. So, I want to move on to the next slide and tell some housekeeping stuff. All of our webinars are recorded. You can find them all on transfinder.com. At the very top, you'll see the icon for YouTube. And so this will be on usually within a day or so. Sometimes even at the end of today, you'll find it. So be sure to do that. Also, please go into the, if you have questions, anything that you want to ask a panelist, or if you want to make a suggestion, please put that in the Q&A area. That's where we really prefer it. I'm going to actually, I realized I didn't move my Q&A area, but ask questions there and we will address them as quickly as we can, or if you have a question that you want to ask to a certain panelist. I'm going to introduce our panelists. Some of them are coming on a little bit late. We all know that the way this business works, you understand more than most, I'm sure, that it is things come up. Maybe you have to drive a bus, or maybe there's a bus that's broken down and you're having to put out some fires. And by the way, technology helps you with those things as well. But so we're going to have some panelists probably pop on later, but I know the folks that we already have here, Mikey and Danielle, totally can carry the day. No pressure, Danielle or Mikey, but I know you guys have a lot of experience and a lot of wisdom. So I'm going to introduce the panels that we have on hand. Mike Hamstra, he's Transportation Manager at Middleton-Cross Plains Area School District in Wisconsin. We have a nice array of states represented, by the way, here. Leah Haven, Transportation Coordinator, Supervisor, actually, right, Danielle? With Logan Township School District in New Jersey. Cecil Sisson, he's Transportation Director at Indian River Central School District in New York. Mikey Tolliver is Transportation Coordinator at Tuscaloosa City School District in Alabama. Danielle, again, I'm sorry, Transfinder Supervisor, and at Tomball ISD. And I'm the moderator. I'm also Director of Public Relations at Transfinder. And my whole goal is always to just cultivate as many of our clients as possible, hear their stories, and share them as quickly as possible. Because at the end of the day, you're the experts. And one of the reasons we call this best practices is because we know that people learn from each other. And Danielle may say something today that someone says, oh, we could do that at our district, or Mikey might share a tip. And I've even heard almost every webinar, I hear our panelists tell us that they actually learn something from each other, which is really awesome. But at the end of the day, we also really want to have fun. So this is a conversation. Please feel free to, don't hesitate to jump in the conversation. And if I don't get to a question that you really want me to ask, go ahead and you can either share it in the Q&A, or Mikey and Danielle and our other panelists, when they join us, they will also be able to just ask, say, Rick, before we go to that part, I want to ask this next question. Mike, thanks for joining us. We already said a lot of good stuff about you. So if you could move to the next slide, Arnold, that would be great. So just a quick overview. I'm going to go super quick here, but here are just some areas that we talk about. When we talk about how technology pays off as you save, it saves you, number one, money. So we have a client that we're actually having a white paper come out this week that saved literally $2.6 million in one school year using our technology to help streamline things. So in the past, some districts used to say, don't, can you lower that number a little bit? Because we don't want it to go out that they actually did not want a big number to go out. But this district actually is like, nope, we want to show everybody that we did save 2.6 million. So it can literally save. So it's obviously more than paid for itself. Um, Fewer buses needed, lower overtime costs, reduced special trip spending, so many fewer trips, I mean, fewer mistakes, all those kind of things help save money. Next slide, please, Arnold. Um, Time, again, time is money, but also just automated routing, other tools that we have make it super easy to, move kids from one stop to another or from one route to another, consolidating runs when you need to, faster communication with parents, drivers, your district at hand, reporting issues. Just we hear it all. Yeah, these are all things I hear all the time when I'm talking to clients. Um, Go ahead, Arnold, to the next slide. Headaches. Nobody wants a headache, so we save you from headaches. We don't save headaches, so you can have them later, but we save you from headaches. Juggling spreadsheets, sticky notes, outdated maps, getting fewer angry calls. Drivers get a very clear expectation of their routes, and all those things are helping to reduce those headaches to keep you up at night. Um, Next, please, Arnold. We got energy. So literally, it's saving mental energy, it's saving physical energy as you automate and I don't need to read all this to you, but the bottom line is we all have so much energy at the end of the day. And so we want to save our energy to focus on those most important tasks that we have at hand. Okay, next slide, please. Steps. So again, this is literally and figuratively. So it's like saving you steps if you have to go across the room to go through a filing cabinet versus being able to digitally, pass along information. Info finder. Form finder, huge tool that's helping to streamline having to have paper, fewer clicks, fewer manual entries, et cetera, et cetera. Your team spends less time, doing these again menial tasks or things that you have to read that you do over and over again year after year after year. You can streamline that and automate it. Next slide, please. People. Okay, at the end of the day, you really want to save your people. I talk to many, many leaders who are very protective of their team. Mikey, Danielle, Mike, are you guys protective of your teams? Right?
Hmm.
You
Oh,
want to
absolutely. Oh, yeah.
they work really hard, you work really hard. You know
Hmm.
that if you protect them and they feel that sense of protection from you, that they're going to be loyal to you, they're going to be loyal to the job, they're going to stay on longer, in terms of like they're not going to want to leave, they're not going to be looking for the exit. um, so that's one of the things that technology helps to do is um, help when you're short staffed. It helps pick up the load, helps to, again, we use certain words over and over again. I know it. Automation. So I hear about this all the time, just how easy it is to move, to either remove a route altogether, combine routes, not losing any safety issues that are, critical too. We still have all the algorithms that you guys have baked into your routes into the system so that it's not, you don't wonder like, oh man, did we take a shortcut? There's no shortcuts in terms of safety. Okay, next slide, please. And now we're back to our first slide. So, again, Cecil, thanks for joining us, and super excited that you could join us as well. We got a great panel, and I think Leah's going to be joining us as well. They had an issue at the district, I know, and so I'm not sure if they were able to get all that rectified. So if she can, that would be great. I wanted to start off initially with just each of you going through and telling me a little bit about your role. Maybe you could career path, very brief, but then tell us about your district in terms of how many students you're transporting or how many bus runs you have, whatever it is to kind of give us a sense of your world. And we're just going to go right down the line. So Mike, Leah's not here yet, so we'll go Mike, Cecil, Mikey and Danielle. So, Mike, tell me a little bit about your path and also your district.
Sounds good. Thank you, Rick. I started with the Middleton-Cross Plains Area School District about 8 years ago as a bus driver, um, and moved from my bus driving role into a routing and dispatch role. Got my first introduction to Transfinder with Route Finder Pro. Spent about 2.5 years, well, 2.5 years as a bus driver, about 2.5 years as the routing and dispatch coordinator, and then moved into the transportation manager role just about 3 years ago. We are a district of, we have 11 schools across elementary, middle, and high. We have a fleet of 64 buses. We have about 7,200 students in our district. Um, Transport about for a little over 4,000 of those a day. Um, right now we have 54 drivers, 50 somewhere in that area. Several parent, uh, we'll call them volunteers, that help us with athletics and other field trips. They work with us. They've gotten their CDLs as parents of students to help with athletic field trips when we struggle to cover those while we're doing afternoon routes. Um, Really strong community here. I grew up in the community. I've lived here for 53 years. My parents, my mom taught in the district, my aunt taught in the district.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's for me, I've always known it, so it made sense to come back. But yeah, you know, we we have a great group of people here, and the tools from Transfinder help us. We use Route Finder Plus, Wayfinder, Stop Finder, Service Finder, Trip Finder. We use all the finders almost. So um,
Did you need shovel finder this
yeah,
week?
yeah, we've adapted them throughout the years, and you know, for us, the move from Pro to Plus was huge. It opened all the other tools up for us, and that's where we see our biggest savings. You mentioned it earlier with you know protecting your drivers. I think everybody's felt the driver shortage, and that's for us being able to have things like Stop Finder and Wayfinder and make that communication between parents and drivers better and easier is a big win for us.
That's great. Thanks so much, Mike. Going to
Yep.
move on to Cecil. Cecil, tell me a little bit about your path as well as the scope of your district.
Absolutely. So, I've been in the industry for a little bit over 14 years now. Started out on the monitor side, went to driver, went to trainer, went to traveling trainer, instructor, 19A examiner. I am the school district transportation director here for Indian River. We have about a little bit over 4,000 students. We have 93 yellow large vehicles in our fleet, about another six additional small SUVs that we utilize with some of our Class C drivers here. And being in this just unique scenario, we're so close to Fort Drum, the military establishment. So we have some families that are coming to our conditions or coming to the up north of North Country here in New York that have never seen snow, have never seen ice, have never been cold, have never had their children either in school or leaving school, going off base for a school campus or activities. We deal with a lot of McKinney-Ventos or displaced families as well, just across the region. And just the transition to Transfinder Plus, I'll simplify it in the sense of I'm a movie guy. So I tell individuals all the time I love to be my Professor X. I'm the guy in the chair. I'm able to assist everybody, just being able to have all these tools readily available, being able to share that information with the wonderful administrators that we have at the building level. We have a lot of unique students that are in scenarios to where they're in between split custody or they're with different guardianship as well. So just trying to make sure that we can assist the families and the students to be able to get them from A to B safely. And then we'll have C, D, E, F, and G as well as we continue to go on. And lastly, I'll leave it with it's a wonderful feeling to be able to wrap up the day and know that all students are home, and with their families. So I love what I do, and I have a wonderful team here. I do.
That's awesome. I think about that too, how all I think certainly at the top of the team has that pressure, but probably every member of your team feels that way too. It's like, okay, every kid is back home. Okay. You know, I one time led a mission trip to Ukraine and, you know, so every day we're checking in everybody's safe. Okay. Then it's like we made it back into JFK. Okay. But I didn't feel good until the van went into the church parking lot and every kid was back with mom and dad. And I'm driving home with my family going, okay, now they're theirs. And I am, I've done my responsibility, but that's kind of a microcosm of what you guys do every single day. So thank you. And Cecil, I just want to let you know, I'm going to go to you first when we come done with this Red Robin and tell me your litany, because you were like a bull out of a China in a China shop yesterday, and I want to get that. And then
Okay.
we'll go to everybody. But just I'm putting you on notice right now, because
Okay.
that was awesome. Okay. Mikey, tell me a little bit about your career path, and your district.
All right. So I started as a driver in 2012, and then I moved to Tuscaloosa in 2014, where I was a driver, kind of like Cecil. Then I became a trainer. 2023, I became the route specialist, and then July of 25, I became the coordinator. Just kind of worked my way up. We have 11,000 kids. We transport about 7,000. 28 schools, 116 drivers. We do about 700 to 900 field trips every school year. We also, like Mike was kind of saying, have all of the finders: stop finder, service finder, route finder, trip finder, form finder, um, and um, yeah, I just can't sing enough about Transfinder and how quick the routing is now. And just looking forward to the future.
You were just telling me that your
Oh, yeah.
predecessor.
Yes, my previous director that we had here, he resigned to move to another system closer to his house, about an hour north of us, um, this past summer. And as soon as he was hired, his first thing was to pull in Transfinder. They were routing with Excel and pencil and paper. And the first thing he had was to schedule a call with Transfinder and sign up.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Last but definitely not least, Danielle, tell me about and you just took on a new role. We were just talking about offline. But tell me a little bit about your career path and then Tomball ISD.
Sure. Good morning again. I started my career in transportation in 2012. I started in Atlanta and with Gwinnett County Public Schools. When we relocated to Texas in 2015, I started my career path again here at Tomball. I started out as a driver and then worked my way into the routing department, just assisting. I got hired as a routing specialist. I did that for a few years and then moved into a project management role. After that, I became the supervisor of the routing department. We transport about 9,600 students, sorry. We have about 134 bus routes that's across gen ed and special needs. And in August, I started a new role as a transportation supervisor. So I'm on the day to day side. I deal with the drivers a lot. I work with the campuses and the shop. So it's a new thing for me. I'm out there working with the people and I enjoy it.
That's awesome. I love you all, it seems like have that experience of driving that gives you a whole like a very special insight, so you understand when you're asking a driver maybe to do something and also getting feedback from them, that experience that they have. And I think that gives you so much credibility when you're, you know, implementing some changes as well. Because maybe not everybody likes, oh, why are we doing a driver app for? I know my route. I don't, has anyone ever faced that at all? Where a driver's like, I don't need it. But so thank you very much, Danielle. That's great. Um, just real quickly, yesterday we did a dry run, and before I could even like finish my little spiel of introducing this idea of our webinar, Cecil's like, "Can I just say what I got to say?" And it was great. And so Cecil, how does Transfinder technology pay off?
Well, I guess I'll start from the top and work my way down, so to say. With the integration of the Transfinder Plus, being that everything's web-based, it simplifies a lot of things. It allows us to kind of skip the like person in the middle. When it comes to Viewfinder, the application that we use that we've updated since we had InfoFinder, at the building levels at all my campuses. Even at some of my unique situations out at BOCES, we're able to have immediate communication with the administrators to make sure that the kids are getting on the right buses, especially when we're talking about having our early releases or snow days or affected modified times due to emergencies. Or, for instance, we've ran into in the past month, one of our buildings actually lost heat. So we had to do a modified, like early dismissal and things of that nature. So when we're talking
Wow.
about making sure that the kids are getting exactly on the right bus, going to the right place at the right time, is phenomenal. And then from there, just being able to make sure that we can cross-reference. Every driver is important. They're superheroes to these kids, whether that's taxi service, counselor, babysitter, you name it, so to say. So they know the ins and outs. They know the roads like the back of their hand, so to say. So to be able to have them come in and be able to knock out a route in less than 5 minutes, opposed to, previous practice of pencil and paper, kind of trying to brainstorm everything or keep everything in here on a central hub. And then when we're talking about just the tablet addition as well, having that for a new driver, they just got their license just a couple weeks ago. We're not necessarily throwing them to the wolves anymore because they have a tablet. They have something that can give them turn by turn. They have something that can let them know, okay, these are the students that I'm supposed to be counting in the morning time. These are the students that I'm supposed to be counting off in the afternoon. As well as when we're talking about combining routes for individuals, life happens. So sometimes people don't always show up to work on time or show up to work when they're supposed to, so to say. So, we try to do our best. Transportation, we try to accommodate everything that we can.
That's great. Um, Yeah, it sounds like when you were talking about like the heat going out in one building and those kind of things, I could see that kind of without having these tools in, where you could be calm as a cucumber. I know it's the duck on the water where they're paddling like crazy underneath, but on top they look like everything is good. That could be a thing that could be make somebody really flustered. Like, hang on a minute, the dismissal's not for another couple more hours. Now I gotta, but it seems like you had that under control.
Yeah, absolutely. Calm and cool as the other side of the pillow, so to say. In the transportation world, I think everybody can attest to everything is a teachable moment. Everything is a learning experience. The only two things that we can't conquer, the only two things that we can't come back from is a fatality or a missing a student. So if we can make sure that we don't have any of those happen on a regular basis, we've done a phenomenal job. And with the platform that has been given us to us from Transfinder, it makes it that much more easier. It does.
That, that's awesome. All right,
Yeah.
we're going to just go down the line, and then I got some specific questions. And I want to, by the way, I don't have any questions yet from anybody in attendance here. So just let me know where you are. If you want to just send a note and say, "Hey, I'm in, whatever, California, and we don't have any snow. So what are you talking about, or whatever?" Go ahead, tell me a little bit about where you're at. If you have a question, anything that Cecil just said that resonated, jump in. You have a question about, or tell me about how you also have become more efficient, with your task. So go ahead. I'm looking for your questions. The first one who responds, I'm going to publicly acknowledge. So I'm going to go to you, Mike Hamstra. Tell me a little bit about, again, we talked a little bit this morning about how these tools have definitely helped you and your team.
Yeah, I I think I want to add on to what Cecil said. I mean, he touched a lot of great things, but the communication between Wayfinder and StopFinder, being able to make immediate changes on Wayfinder or on Route Finder rather, and have drivers be able to pick up those changes right away. The next route, if you've got kids that are added, um, you know, need to go to somebody else's house, it's a really easy move to add a kid for one day. They show up in Wayfinder. The parents automatically see it in StopFinder. They know when those kids are getting on. If you do choose to use a card reading system, parents are getting an attendance notification that that kid was on the bus and on a different bus or the bus that he was supposed to be on that day and where he got off. All these little tools, while they're great for our drivers and they're great for the parents, that's,
You know,
these are the things that pay off for us in the office.
no,
We
Mike,
don't
I
get that
understand. Like, so,
call.
like with the Wayfinder, for instance, like if a bus has to be switched out for some reason, and they pull the tablet out and move it into another bus, that'll information will be translated to StopFinder, correct? And so a parent will know, like, okay, so they won't just see like bus 34, my kid's bus isn't moving. They're gonna see, they're gonna be up to date with the change, correct?
Absolutely.
So that's got
Absolutely.
to save you
And
some headaches right there.
it saves us a ton. It helps the parents know which bus they're looking for, especially your elementary students where you have more of those parents showing up to get kids from the stop. Um, but on if you've got, you know, if Susie has to go home with a different kid that day, you can assign her that day, you know, to that bus just for that day because she's going home with somebody else. And the
You can make
parents
it just
know.
a one day exception.
Yeah, the drivers know that they're looking for that person. The parents can see where that bus is, make sure that she got on that bus. It eliminates all those phone calls. And
What
it,
would you have had to do prior to this technology? Would you have just said, "Hey, Suze," would you have to like let the bus driver know, "Hey, look, you got another person on your bus," or like how would that communicate? Would that be communicated?
you got to communicate. I mean, if we get that call from a parent, we've got to then communicate it to the school. Someone probably is going to have to walk that kid out to the bus. You've got to confirm with the parents, confirm with the driver, maybe look up an image so the driver has an idea of who that kid is. Now with Wayfinder, like, oh, you've got another kid, and by the way, her tile is now going to show her image. So there's all these visual cues that you have that allow you, makes the driver more comfortable with it. Parents are more comfortable. You're eliminating all that anxiety from several groups. Um, protecting our drivers, that's a great way of saying it. We're protective of them because one, I think everybody on this panel has done it. We've all experienced it. When a driver comes in with a frustration, what they're talking about, you're not just sending them out like, oh, I have no
Right.
experience doing this. I can talk to you as a peer.
Well,
So
it's interesting because I haven't heard this. You're the first one that had shared with me just how easy it is to get that one exception for Susie to go with a friend. Or, we heard the other side of the story of a kid that was basically a runaway. And so he showed up. He was in the bus already. He was going home. And, they stop at a kid's stop. And it's just to be one, it's only supposed to be one kid getting off. And there are two kids that show up at the front of the, bus. And the bus driver, who was a substitute, didn't know this young boy and goes, he radioed it in. They go, "Oh, he's a runaway. We're looking for him." So he did not get off at that stop. And so that's the other side of it as well. Like he was able to, and then we also heard some kind of just nice stories about being able to like say good night. A substitute can even say to a young child getting off the bus, "Have a nice day, PD," or whatever. So it just has that personal touch as well. It can add a little element of, you don't think of technology as being able to humanize, but in a way it can. It can actually, oh, he knows my name. So thank you, Mike.
Yeah.
Mikey, we'll go from Mike to Mikey. Mikey, tell me a little bit about how it has saved you, either time, headaches, money, all the above.
All the above. Um, One of the things is the route coverage, which I'm sure that everybody here is way too familiar with. Um, like the about 2 weeks ago on a Friday of all days, I was having to cover 38 routes, and with the tablets, I can just with the past routing system that I had, I would have to call everybody, hey, can you help with this route? With the new routing system with Route Finder and the tablets, I can just put it on their tablet and they see it when they sign in. And so I don't have to call you no more. I don't have to, if they can't help, they would call. And then kind of like what Mike and Cecil said with the tablets, with the communication with the parents through Stop Finder, um, the communication with the schools, signing the kids up for transportation. They used to have to send over paperwork from the school secretary to our coordinator, who would then assign them and then send that paperwork back to the school. Now it's all online through Form Finder. Once I assign them, they can see it in Viewfinder, and then I send the link out to the parent in Stop Finder. So it's so much faster and saves so much time. And like I said last night, I can go home now at my regular time when I want to. I don't have to be here. Sorry, that was my 911 radio. I don't have to be here late at night like we used to do, working on everything. So it has saved so much.
We've had meetings here where that actually comes up a lot. We try to, you can sometimes get focused on like selling a solution, right? And to make it really like to make it more personable, we talk about like, no, we're talking about helping our clients have a quality of life.
Right.
I had somebody who was on one of my previous webinars who said, because I don't know if I should say this publicly, but I actually was able to take time off during the summer. And like that has never happened in my entire career. And I was able to take time in my and take time in the summer because we were done. We were done
Yeah.
early.
Oh,
So
and one thing I had mentioned yesterday was, the fact that now what took half an hour or longer to change stops or to rework a route now takes 10 minutes maybe at most, because you can just drag and drop wherever you want the stops. If I want stop 9 to be stop 2, I mean, seconds, and it's just a lot of time saving.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Danielle, how about
So,
you? What's your story?
well, for us, when we moved over to Plus and then implemented Wayfinder, Viewfinder, Stop Finder over the summer, it has streamlined communication where we're able to share information with our campuses, we're able to share information with our parents and our dispatchers to help make a more efficient day. So that has helped us a lot. We're able to now use our GPS events grid with the map to help locate buses when they get lost or turned around or there's an unexpected road closure. So that communication piece is big for us. Of course, with the driver shortage, we're able to split routes and make it more efficient, putting the routes that are down closer to other routes that have drivers in the area, and then send notifications to parents so that they know that their child is going to be riding another bus. And then the campuses are able to go into Viewfinder to group the students together at dismissal to make sure that they're loading onto the proper bus. So being able to share information across all the platforms for everyone has been a very, very, very big piece for us. The only thing we wait for now is our nightly integration that happens at like 10:45. But as far as everything else, as soon as we route a student, the campus is able to see it, our dispatchers are able to see it, and our directors are able to see it. That's been a very, very big piece. We are looking forward to hopefully being able to have some time off this summer so that we're not having to spend so much time routing because of how efficient Plus is now and all of the information that we're able to gather from the attendance feature, as far as how many students are riding, the stop times, making sure that we're not just, it's a great feature to be able to get the times from the software, but to be able to go in and look at the actual GPS time, that's a major, major thing. So we're very excited about routing for the summer.
Right. Is there like, I was thinking about it. I mentioned the person that saved $2.6 million for his district. When he first came on, he was just driving around, um, just kind of getting a lay of the land, and he saw these buses. It was three buses that were parked out of near a mall. And then the next day he was driving around again, and he saw again the same three buses, and he said it happened 3 days. And then he thought, because the first day he thought it might have been a field trip or something. Um, he found out that they were doing it every single day for an hour, three
Mhm.
buses idling and stuff. And then they brought in Transfinder technology and they gave him all the diagnostics that he needed, all of the data, and said, we just started eliminating all of this wasteful spending.
Mhm.
And I was just wondering, are there things that are, would you say that, and if you have hopefully an example of how Transfinder has helped remove that, but like things that either that Transfinder has helped you in terms of removing waste. It could be wasted time from repetitive tasks, or wasted money from idling, or from what do they call them? Phantom stops. Tommy took
Honey
that bus at
stops.
that location 18 years ago, but Tommy is in married and has four kids now, but we still have a stop for Tommy, like, which is just another waste. So and I'm just going to open this up to everybody, and if you don't have one or whatever, we can move on too. But there's no order here. Anybody have any thoughts on what kinds of waste that you've helped to remove using technology, our technology?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say just becoming more proficient. This school year, we actually combined our high school and middle school students. That's something that the district hasn't done in over 3 decades, so to say. So this has been the first time in a long, long, long time. I want to say probably since COVID that we can honestly say all students that want to be able to participate in breakfast actually can get breakfast for our tier ones. And that's, helped us out with the teachers and things like that. In the previous past school years, we were running late in the morning time and we were running late in the afternoon. We had scenarios to where we had full routes still at campuses, over an hour and 10 minutes afterwards, of dismissal and stuff like that. So being able to use the platform to manipulate the routes in the way that we need them. Also, as well, when we're talking about ridership and things of that nature, it's easier to send one bus down the road than send three different buses down there, and we know only 5 kids get on now. So it's been a great, great, great assistance.
That's great. When you say manipulate routes and stuff, it made me think about like when somebody's like a concert pianist and how they can just make music out of a piano. When Tony started Route Finder Plus, he was talking. He goes, I want to bring in some new terminology, and he used, now people use it all the time, the palette, right? And the idea that you guys are artists, Cecil. You guys are. He goes, I believe that the routes these people are creating are literally masterpieces, and that's why he came up with some of that, the canvas, the map canvas. If you think about, that was intentional. Like nobody used the word map canvas. That's a Transfinder term, and palette, because that's you're painting and you're creating a masterpiece. But when you said like manipulate, I think about like somebody who's really good at something, and like even like a computer programmer who can go, oh yeah, I'll take over that. I'm like, wow, how'd you do that? Like you're an expert. So anyway, I just made me tangent there. Sorry. Anybody else that was able to suck some waste out of your operation, whether it's time, money, headaches, repetitive tasks, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, we do it all the time with routes that overlap. I mean, every school year creating new routes as you you know, as you get new students and things change, you know, being able to pull up a pallet that has all of your AM routes. You know, our high school and both of our middle schools overlap, and the times start, or the times that they need to be at school, you know, are very similar. So we'll look at our high school and our middle schools. Where do we have overlap that we can pull those things, you know, pull kids apart, make those routes more efficient? We even look at it, you know, when we have routes that cross over each other, we'll look at timing to see if, you know, are we having buses wait while another bus is picking up a group of students to try and eliminate, you know, that. I think we all know, everybody that's probably here knows that a minute or two in the bus world is a lot different than when someone says, oh, it's a couple minutes. It's an eternity. Like if I can save 2 minutes because I can send a guy around the block a different way and not get stopped by crossing another bus stop, those 2 minutes matter. You know, they matter. If it happens 3 times, that's 6 or 7 minutes. So we'll look at where buses cross and are they going to be, you know, are we going to have buses stopped waiting while other buses pick up? So, yeah,
Mike,
we
I love
just,
that. Again, I keep
right.
getting these pictures when you guys are talking. I'm thinking about like a football coach, like at halftime and stuff, like saying, "Okay, we're missing that hole by like a half a second, and you know you got to block here. You know, just how you're. It's like the word that came to mind when you were talking was like fine tuning. Just like,
Mhm.
okay, we got the general, and now we're going to start fine tuning these things so that we don't have buses in the same neighborhood that it could, you know." We can reduce that time, you know, reduce the time for the kid outside too. If you're reducing
Mhm.
the time of a student outside, you're reducing their vulnerability of something happening as well. That's, you know, we hear that from the parent app all the side of things all the time that, you know, I don't want my kid going to the curb, you know, to the end of my driveway any longer than he or she has to, you know, because of distracted drivers and other types of things as well. But find, I like that, Mike. That's really good. Anybody, Danielle, look like you were going to say something. Am I correct?
Oh, I'm just piggybacking. It's a lot of good stuff here. It seems like we're all on the same, page and using the software in the same way. But I will say I absolutely love the grids and having the ability to look at actual versus plan because that is so big when you want to absorb a route or create a new route or saying, okay, what's the difference between a driver leaving at uh, 5:55 opposed to 6 o'clock. Well, I was able to pull a report and say, I really need you to leave at 5:55 because when you leave at 6 o'clock, instead of you being 2 to 3 minutes late, you're actually 10 to 12 minutes late and you're arriving to the campus 15 minutes late. So those minutes matter. And you can pull that report and show to the driver and say, this is what I need you, this is what I need you to do. We didn't just make this up. Like this is the data. So I'm very, very, very happy with the actual versus plan. And then also going in and being able to pull up the map canvas and show them how the route is, and then play the historical data and say, hey, how come you were doing this? Oh, you can see that? Yeah, we can see that. So don't do that. I want you to do this, and then to be
Don't
able to.
stay outside of the mall for an hour.
Right, right, because you'll get those calls and people, because these are taxpayer dollars and they're like, what's going on here? We can see in the map the bus is just driving around or they're sitting here. Why are they sitting here at the gas station every day? And you can pull it up and say, hey, what are we doing? And you're able to make things more efficient
That's great. That's
because we
great.
are a rolling billboard.
Yes, that great description. Everybody sees you, and that is your brand. That's your brand. Um, okay, Mikey, anything you want to add?
Kinda just off of what you said about Stop Finder, I've had parents when we rolled out Stop Finder over the summer. I think I maybe personally took 20 some phone calls of parents that were just through our summer school program had called just so excited just to say, hey, this is awesome. I'm so happy I can see the bus on the map. they've set up so it'll send them the geo alerts. Um, just very thrilled that we have the option now because, some parents are very worried, like you said, and I think what Cecil had talked about, they are new to the city or they've not, went to the summer learning program before, or we need to change their route. The Stop Finder app has, it was a very large welcome thing here.
That's great. Patricia has a question. She's new to Transfinder. She's in Long Island. And she said, and they contract out for their buses, but they do have Route Finder Plus. And she's goal is, one step at a time is her, what she said, like, which one step at a time. But here's her question. I'll open it up to all of you. Anybody, not everybody has to answer it, but she says, am I at a disadvantage without all of the tools? Anybody have thoughts on that? Did you, maybe is it that one step at a time? Some people do things all at once. So I'll just ask it again. Am I at a disadvantage without all the tools?
I guess I'll start off. I would say no, just for the simple fact of you kind of know your practice or you know your personnel the best, so to say. So I wouldn't say try everything all at once, just for the simple fact of there are individuals that are hard learners or take a little bit longer, so to say. So if you do it in stages, I think your comfortability with each software or each platform under that large umbrella becomes that much more easier and you're getting like the best value out of each of those different things that are all connected under that large umbrella. So I'd say do it in stages, so to say, as you go. Don't try to eat the whole cake at one sitting.
Very
Yeah,
good. Very
I
good.
couldn't
Anybody
agree
else?
more.
Yeah, I agree.
Um,
Good. Yeah, I've heard some districts that are a little crazy and they did try like two or three solutions all at once. Mike, go ahead,
we
Mike.
went, like I said, we went everything all at once. It was fun, but we got it. We love it. Wouldn't do it any other way. Had I had the chance to do it over, I'm happy that we have everything under one roof now.
That's
Mhm.
awesome.
Yeah.
Now, Cecil, you alluded to something, and I think it's kind of less segues my next question, and we are kind of getting close. So, as I told you all in the very beginning of this webinar, if there's something you really want to say, just say before I get to that, Rick, I want to say that. So please, what you guys have to say is most important. But culture, you just mentioned some people learn differently, right? Some people comfort level. Some people love to click things and they don't worry about breaking them. Other people are like, oh, can I? But I don't want to hold my TV remote control because I might blow up my TV or something. I don't know. So, how how did your culture, your team adapt? That I know your team is like, well, Rick, which team are you talking about? My routing team, my dispatch team, my driver team. So I know that that's a wide open question, but the different groups that you're working with, how did they adapt? You know, it's hard to change outcomes if you don't change those daily behaviors. You got to make these tools work where it's like, no, this is actually making my life easier. Because some tools we all know, right? There are some times when you're like, this is really it's making my life harder. This is not helping me. And so you got to show them like, no, I'm telling you, maybe in this startup, it's learning something, but I'm telling you, it's going to save you. And then once you get it, then you have people say like, "Oh, I love it. Thanks so much." So anyway, how do you get that how did your culture adapt? There's the things that you had to do or your higher ups had to do to help them and then to get the most out of this technology and these changes. Again,
Um,
open to anybody. Go ahead, Cecil.
I would say honestly, just buying in from the jump. It starts from the top, so to say. So if you're not being optimistic or you're not being open and real with yourself, your staff is going to see that. They're going to know that, so to say. And also to allow them to give feedback, allow them to have criticism, allow them to take baby steps, allow them to kind of go all the way in and take ownership of each different piece that they have inside the platform. If you can spread it out, if you have an overabundance amount of staff, give everybody a certain section. If it's just you and one other person, well, best of luck to you, so to say. But with that being said, it's just having a consistent base. Like the buttons are going to be in a different place. And the screen is going to look different. You're going to be worried about, can you remember the logins, or did somebody get the information, or is the sync going, or is the download going, et cetera, et cetera. But just looking at the finish line, looking at the end goal, and just constantly always being saying, okay, hey, each day I want to try my best to learn something new inside the platform.
That is
I think that
great.
goes a long way.
And I
That's
will
great.
say
I also, oh,
with
go
that
ahead.
learning, oh, I'm sorry,
No, go
Oh, go
ahead,
ahead.
Danielle. I'm
the
sorry. Go ahead, Danielle,
platform.
and then whoever else. I didn't see who else I was. Go ahead, Danielle.
When you are working with Transfinder products, it pretty much looks the same. Everything looks the same, so that's pretty easy. The transition, it makes it for a smoother transition. A lot of the terminology is the same. The grids look the same. The maps work the same. Um, so that's very, very helpful when learning.
Who was the other person? I didn't see who.
And I think that, Cecil, you touched on it too. You're what you're projecting to your team, whether it is your drivers, and you're trying to sell them Wayfinder, your parents selling them Stop Finder, your staff at other schools and buildings selling them, on the fact that Viewfinder is going to be making it easy. It's how you project it to them. Your enthusiasm for it, selling it as a tool that does help with time, and it helps you with less clicks, and it helps you with all these other things. I think we could probably all agree that your drivers are they're the lifeblood of what you do, but they're also sometimes the more challenging group. And to tell them, you got people that have been there 20 years driving in the same district, the same area. Now I'm going to give you a tablet. Like, they're like, I don't need this. It's a tool. If you have to do this, it's giving you all these different things that are designed to make your job easier on a day-to-day basis. You know, I think
That's good.
when we did tablets, we already had tablets in our buses to do our pre-trips. It took a long time to get everybody on board with the technology. To add another piece of Wayfinder was easier because we did do it in steps. You know, they already had a familiarity with that tablet. Now they're just going to pull up their routes, drive their routes, be able to see the kids, be able to see when kids get on and off the bus. Visually, they're going to see that card scan. All those things, that comes from the excitement that I bring and my team brings to the team of drivers, saying, yeah, it's going to be great. We're going to do this. We can now do this. It integrates. Now you got parents that aren't going to yell at you because you're 5 minutes late, because they know the bus is 5 minutes late because they're watching it on Stop Finder. You know, it's all these things that go together to make it easier for them, whether those are drivers, staff, whatever.
As I was preparing for this, I, with my help with my good friend Chat GPT, I talked about reactive or proactive operations, and I talked about like the shift from we respond to problems to we prevent problems. Real-time information enables better deployment, faster decisions, fairer workload distribution. But here's the thing I wanted to highlight: resistance and change management. So I talked about pushback's normal. You're gonna hear people say like, "We've never done it this way before." There's a fear of monitoring, like, Danielle said, hey, well, don't do that anymore. Fear of exposure, but they said overcome this resistance by framing technology as protection, not punishment. I think
Mhm.
that a driver doesn't have to have a route sheet on their lap. That's a protection. A driver that doesn't have a kid that should not be, that's been suspended and should not be on the bus, should not be at school. That's a protection for that driver. Showing quick wins. I really like this. Quick wins are really important. You do something and you say, hey, and then you celebrate those wins. Sometimes you celebrate a lot of small wins before you get the big win. And then letting data tell the story. I thought were all good points of how to, and again, all of it still is that upbeat mentality that you've all mentioned. Mikey, were you going to say something?
One thing I just wanted to touch on, and I can't remember, and I'm so sorry if we've already talked a little bit about it, was just the reports that Transfinder has that we can run. Specifically with us, my superintendent, he wants like every week a percentage of the on-time arrivals. And last year, with the previous coordinator and the director, and myself as the route specialist, we was every day having to log into the GPS system, pull up every individual trip, and keep track of the like arrivals on a spreadsheet. And now it takes about 10 seconds to run a report to where
That's
it
awesome.
shows me every trip, what time you were there, what percentage was there on time, what percentage was early, what percentage was late. That's another aspect of Route Finder Plus that I cannot sing enough of.
That's
Mikey, have
great.
you tried having the reports sent to you nightly
Not
or
nightly, but
sent
I,
to
I
your?
have that one sent to me weekly.
Okay. We
Yeah,
have something similar that's sent to us and some people outside of transportation, and it emails them so that they can see,
yeah.
what we have going on in our department. That's
Okay.
a huge bonus.
Great. Um, So I wanted to tell you real quickly. So we had a big meeting here last week called the State of the Union, not the President's State of the Union, but it has to do with all of the various departments in our company coming together and hearing about, how we did last year. We had a very detailed about how quickly we're resolving questions that districts may have or issues they may be having, to features and functions we're adding to all of our solutions and all that. So we did a little bit of looking back, and then we did a lot of looking forward. And then if anybody knows our CEO, I think you all do. Tony Civitello is all about looking forward and improvement. So just like all the things we're talking about, we did the same thing. And I was talking to Mikey this morning, and it was about how we want to even just looking at how can we close a ticket even quicker? How can we help resolve an issue even quicker? And so, Mikey, I just want to please tell me your story, and then I'm going to ask you all to give me your final takeaway that you want people to. So be thinking about that while Mikey's talking, what that one takeaway is for people who are watching this. But Mikey, tell me what you said to me first thing this morning.
Yes. When we had our run through yesterday, and you had said that one of the things that the CEO had talked about was wanting to um, try to make the support cases like quicker turnaround. And I was telling my director about that, and that's another thing we sing very highly of is that we have never, ever, ever had any company whatsoever with such customer service minded, quick response support team than Transfinder. And I had told Rick this morning, I was talking with my director last night about it, and I said he was hoping to see about how much quicker they can. And she said the only way they can have it any quicker is to have a Transfinder person here in the office. That's the only way it can get any quicker.
That's quite a compliment, but we're still
Yes,
working on it. I don't know if we can get people to every site, but so we're gonna we gotta Arnold, if you can move to the next slide. I'm gonna ask Cecil, Mike, Danielle, and then Mikey. You can close us on this. That one takeaway that you want, if somebody's watching this, they want to go back to their office or they want to go talk to their superintendent or whatever it may be. What's one takeaway you want attendees to have?
I would say use the opportunity to network with asking just about this platform and the software because you're going to hear positives. You might hear some negatives as well, but you're going to hear some feedback that is going to be very interesting to what you want to be able to implement in your time in the seat, so to say. So when we're talking about your predecessors and stuff like that, and they had to spend a lot of time inside the shops, a lot of man and woman hours all day long, all evening, all weekend all summer and stuff like that. This one will be able to save a lot of time, energy, and effort to allow us to be able to enjoy time with our family and friends as well. So that's the one thing that I would kind of leave with, or I would tell everybody like be curious, honestly, ask questions.
I love it.
Log into the demos. If you get a chance to talk to your surrounding areas, your surrounding school districts, or private sectors as well, if they're utilizing the platform, like just ask, ask, ask. Knowledge is power, so to say. So,
Very good. Good stuff, Cecil. Thank you. Mike?
Yep, I think he nailed it. I would say, and Mikey talked about it too, the back end support, the training, everything you need. If there's a certain situation that you see specifically in your district, bring it up to Transfinder as an improvement or something they can add. I think we've probably had 5 or 6 different things that we've identified that would have made it better, or things that we see. If you put it in front of the product development team, like, it gets looked at, and it a lot of times comes true pretty quickly. um and yeah, no there's no shortage of support. I
And
just
I,
had a service finder ticket that got taken care of in under 2 hours. Unfortunately, I was in a bus that afternoon, so when they called me back, I wasn't available to take the call. But by the time I got back in the office, they fixed it on the back end, and we were back up and receiving reports from all the buses. So yeah,
that's awesome.
great stuff.
Well, I can tell you the feedback we get about product, like I wish that this did this or whatever, that is definitely not dismissed. It's definitely looked into, and when you start hearing several people say the same thing, we're like, okay, we got to get that feature in there. So, very good point, Mike. Danielle?
Um, I'll just close out by saying, if you are looking into uh, getting a software from Transfinder, it's the way to go. You have huge, huge customer support, whether it's by phone call, email, chat. Um, you also, anything that you can think of, like they said, product or services that you want to add, product development wise, they're opening ears. So the support that you'll receive from this company is by far the best.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And Mikey, last but not least.
Cecil, Mike, everybody has kind of just said the same thing, and I'm gonna just echo it with the support. And you know, I was hopping on every single call, trying to learn everything that I can, and I still don't know everything. So I'm hopping on every call that I can, talking with some others from some other systems, and I'll say it again: the support. I have never seen a company with such a fantastic support crew, from the people with problems, who I have to talk to, our person who has helped us to set all of our routing up. Um, the night before school, we had something drastic happen, and we had to have her, and I sent her an email, luckily at like 6 o'clock that night, and she hopped on a call. So, I mean, that's it. Just
That's
this,
good.
that's all I can say.
That's awesome. That's awesome to hear. Well, we know what your job and how important it is. It's mission critical, and so it's all hands on deck for sure. We definitely get it.
Mhm.
Well, thank you. I want to thank you all for your time. All great insights. Every one of these, I always learn something new. But your passion, I think, is like Cecil kind of set the tone on that. You know, that's the stuff that's infectious for your teams. Maybe you had a boss that was like that, or maybe you had a boss that wasn't like that. He said, "I'm not going to be like that person, and I'm going to." I always tell my kids, I'm like, they can be. Everything's an example. It's either a good example or a bad example, and so you can learn from either one. You can learn from bad examples and say, "I'm just not going to be like that." So anyway, but you guys, I've learned so much from you, and your passion definitely it's infectious. Go on to the next slide. I just wanted to encourage everybody on this attendee, I hope all of you panelists as well have registered for the Top Transportation Teams Awards Program, now in its fourth year. And it's besides the fact that the winners get to go to STN free of cost, just like, the leader of each team, and like STN covers the cost of the ticket. We cover airfare and hotel accommodations. Um, Even if you don't win, you get a sense of from the survey results, the anonymous survey results, you will see what your team really feels. And I know we don't always have to hear criticism, but it's like if someone says something, I never knew that. I never knew that somebody leaving cottage cheese in the refrigerator for 3 months really bothered you, whatever that may be. I don't know why I came up with that example, but it'll help you to find things again, as we talked about fine tuning things and improving things. You'll see like, oh wow, we ranked really high in all these areas. And here's one area that was our 1 week. We fixed that area. We could be a top team next year. So I just want to encourage everybody, you go to toptransportationteams.com, and then get your team enrolled. And then the award ceremony is in July. But right now is the time to do it. I really hope all of our panelists have done it, but I hope all of our attendees have too. You do not have to be a Transfinder client. This is really for the entire, and you don't have to be a school district. You could be a contractor as well. So as long as you're involved in the transportation of students, that's the criteria. Okay, next slide. If you have a story, always looking for panelists, always looking for stories. Again, you don't have to be a Transfinder client. If there's something you do that makes your operation hum better, you have a technique, an approach to anything. We always want to just cultivate and curate those solutions and share that with the industry at large. So this does not have to be you do not have to be a Transfinder client for that. And then I probably will ask you to be a webinar panelist. So you don't have to be, but if you're interested in sharing your story. Last but not least, our next webinar is March 26th. So please mark your calendars for that and for more details. But until then, I want to thank our panelists, and I want to thank all of our attendees, and just wish you all the great rest of your day and rest of the week. Thank you.
Thank you.